In Vienna's Golden Hall, I was so nervous that I hit the wrong notes and became a laughingstock, while my cousin rose to fame with a single performance and was hailed as a prodigy. When she learned the news, my mother, who had once been the principal pianist, smashed my piano keys in public. Her eyes were full of disgust and regret as she looked at me. If I'd known you were such a rotten piece of wood, when the nanny switched you at birth, I should have pretended not to see it, if only that were Wan. Back then, when the delivery room caught fire, the nanny tried to switch my cousin and me in the chaos. It was I who desperately waved my little hands and grabbed the corner of Mom's clothes, and only then did she risk her life to hold me tightly in her arms. But now Mom says she saved the wrong person. I held the broken guitar string and slit my wrist, staining the black and white keys with blood. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the moment the delivery room caught fire. This time, I let go of the hand clutching my mother's hem. Since you despise me, then I'll grant your wish. But later, looking at me covered in wounds yet still with that stubborn look in my eyes, Mom knelt on the ground and cried her heart out. She only begged me to call her Mom once more. Let go. This child can't be saved anymore. Save Wan first. In the delivery room thick with billowing smoke, the nanny's shrill scream tore through the air. I looked at the elegant, dignified woman before me. She was my biological mother, the chief pianist Linya. In my previous life, I clung desperately to the hem of her clothes, crying in anguish amid the sea of flames, and only then did I win a moment of mercy from her. She saved me, but in the years that followed, she also used those hands that played the piano to point at my nose and curse me countless times. She called me rotten wood, called me useless trash, and said I wasn't even as good as a single finger of my cousin Su Wan. It was not until that performance in Vienna, when I hit a wrong note because of a psychogenic tremor, that she smashed my piano in public and shattered my last trace of will to live. Having been given a second life, I looked at the anxious yet hesitant expression in her eyes. This time, I took the initiative to let go of that little hand clenched so tightly it had turned white. Since you think Su Wan is the real genius, the daughter you have longed for day and night, then I'll grant you your wish. Linya seemed to freeze for a moment. She hadn't expected a newborn baby to let go at this very moment, but the fire did not wait for anyone. A trace of relief flashed in her eyes, and she turned to pick up Su Wan from the cradle beside her, rushing out of the sea of flames without looking back. Madam, there's still one more. When the firefighters rushed in, I had already been choked by the thick smoke and was nearly suffocating, but I didn't cry. I just quietly watched the figure disappearing at the doorway, feeling an unusual calm in my heart. The nanny, Zhang Cuehua, who was also Su Wan's biological mother, was holding me tightly at that moment, trembling uncontrollably. It wasn't because she felt sorry for me, but because she knew her daughter had now soared up the branch and become a phoenix. As for me, the real heiress, abandoned by my own mother, I had fallen into her hands. On the day I was discharged from the hospital, Linya held Su Wan in her arms and sat in a luxury car, giving me a cold glance through the window. There was no guilt in that look, only a sense of relief at having shed a burden. Zhang Cuehua held me in her arms, beaming as she bent over and bowed repeatedly. Don't worry, madam, this child is a survivor. I'll take her home and raise her, and I'll make sure she grows up plump and rosy for you. Linya frowned in disgust and tossed out a wad of money. Don't ever bring her in front of me again. Just looking at her annoys me. The car window rolled up, and the luxury car sped away, disappearing into the distance. Zhang Cuehua looked at the money in her hand, spat hard on the ground, then lowered her head to look at me in her arms. That once fairly kind face instantly turned vicious and twisted. You little bastard, from now on you'll slave away for me. She carried me back to that dark, damp basement. From then on, I was the nanny's daughter, Zhang Zhaodi, and Su Wan became the apple of the Lin family's eye. Lin Wan, the wheels of fate completely reversed at this moment. I closed my eyes, a barely perceptible cold smile curving at the corners of my lips. Mom, I hope that in this life, Su Wan can truly become, as you wish, your pride. Don't let me down. When I was 6 years old, I was washing clothes in that cramped alley, in the dead of winter. The water was bone-chillingly cold, and my hands were covered in chilblains. Zhang Cuehua sat at the doorway cracking sunflower seeds, cursing as she watched TV. Wash them clean, if there's even a stain left. Don't even think about dinner tonight. A broadcast of a children's piano competition was playing on TV. On the screen, Su Wan, dressed in a white princess dress, sat in front of a Steinway piano like a delicate porcelain doll. The camera swept over the audience below the stage, where Linya, in a custom haute couture gown, looked up at the stage with eyes full of affection, a proud smile on her lips. So this is Master Lin Ya's daughter. As expected, a tiger father produces no dog. Daughter, her bearing is truly outstanding, the host said, lavishing praise without restraint. Su Wanwan began to play. It was, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, Variations, a very simple piece, but for a 6-year-old child, being able to play it through in its entirety was already quite good. However, anyone with even a little knowledge could hear it. Her rhythm was uneven, her touch weak, and there were even 2 obvious wrong notes in the middle, but when the final note fell, thunderous applause erupted from the audience. Linya even stood up excitedly to clap, as if her daughter had just played Rachmaninoff. I looked down at the foam in the basin and couldn't help letting out a scoff. So this is the genius Linya talks about. In my previous life, by the time I was 6, she had already forced me to finish practicing Hainen. I practiced the piano 8 hours a day, and if I played even 1 note wrong, I'd be hit with a ruler. Her standards for me were perfection, nothing less than absolute perfection, and yet now, in the face of Su Wanwan's utterly mediocre performance, she can smile so brightly. So, she wasn't being harsh, she simply hated me. It seems Master Lin's genes are indeed strong. Miss Wanwan's hands are naturally made for playing the piano. The judge's flattering voice came from the television. Zhang Cuihua heard this and proudly spat the sunflower seed shells all over the floor. Of course. Don't you see whose child he is? That's my son. She turned around, saw that I had stopped what I was doing, grabbed the feather duster beside her, and started lashing at me. What are you looking at? You think you're worthy of looking at a piano? Hurry up and wash. With each strike, my back burned with searing pain. I clenched my teeth and said nothing. Just then, a black sedan slowly pulled up and stopped at the entrance of the alley. The door opened, and Linya got out, holding Su Wanwan's hand. She had come to give Zhang Cuihua a hush money payment. Zhang Cuihua immediately changed her expression, dropped the feather duster, and rubbed her hands together as she went up to greet her. Oh, madam, what brings you here personally? Linya pinched her nose with a handkerchief in disgust, her gaze sweeping over the filthy water on the floor before finally settling on me. I was wearing an ill-fitting, tattered cotton-padded jacket, my hair was dull and yellow, and my hands were covered in swollen chilblains. Su Wanwan was wearing an expensive cashmere coat, holding a beautiful doll in her arms. Like a haughty little princess, she looked at me, her eyes full of innocent malice. Mom, is this the jinx who almost killed me? Linya patted her head and said gently, don't look, it'll dirty your eyes. Then, she looked down at me from above, her gaze as cold as ice. As expected, mud can't be plastered onto a wall. A child who grew up in this kind of environment is destined to roll around at the bottom. She turned to Zhang Cuihua, her tone carrying a patronizing air. The money has been transferred to your card. Remember what I said. Keep her in line and don't let her run around everywhere. Yes, yes, madam, rest assured, I'll keep a close eye on this little brat for sure. Linya nodded in satisfaction and turned to leave. I suddenly lifted my head and looked straight into her eyes, those eyes that once made me yearn so deeply, and now only filled me with disgust. Madam, I said hoarsely, yet every word was clear. Do you really think she plays well? Linya stopped in her tracks and turned back abruptly, a flash of anger crossing her eyes. What do you know? A wild little girl who washes clothes. How dare she comment on Wanwan's piano skills? Su Wanwan was so angry that she stamped her foot. Mom, she's jealous of me. Beat her to death. Linya let out a cold laugh. Jealousy is the epitaph of the incompetent. Wanwan, let's go. Don't bother with this kind of lowly person. Watching their departing figures, I lowered my head and looked at my pair of badly swollen hands. My fingers trembled slightly in the icy water, imitating the 2 notes Su Wanwan had just played wrong. Inferior people. Linya, you'll find out soon enough just what kind of trash the genius you treasure so much really is. As she grew older, Su Wanwan's talent started to show its true colors. For the piano, getting started depends on throwing money at it, advancing depends on talent, and mastery depends on hard practice. Su Wanwan had none of the 3, except for the money Linya spent on her. She couldn't sit still. After practicing for half an hour, she would start crying and making a fuss. Her fingers were as limp as noodles and simply couldn't hold up. But Linya refused to give up. She needed an heir to carry on her glory more than ever, especially after she had publicly proclaimed that Su Wanwan was a once-in-a-century genius. In order to force Su Wanwan to practice the piano, Linya began to grow hysterical. I often heard Zhang Cuihua complaining to Su Wanwan on the phone about how Linya had punished her again, and I, amid Zhang Cuihua's beatings and scolding, secretly picked up a piece of cardboard that a neighbor had thrown away. I drew the black and white keys on a piece of cardboard. During the day, I was Zhang Zuihua's punching bag, doing the laundry and cooking, and any small mistake would earn me a vicious beating. Late at night, I hid in the cramped bathroom, and with the faint moonlight, silently played on the cardboard. My fingers danced over the cardboard, while in my mind echoed the countless pieces I had played in my previous life: Chopin's nocturnes, Liszt's rhapsodies, Beethoven's sonatas. Those melodies etched into my soul were the only salvation I had in this hellish life. That day, Linya suddenly brought Su Wanwan over. The reason was that Su Wanwan refused to practice a new piece no matter what, and cried and threw a tantrum, insisting on coming to play with Nanny Auntie. Linya had no choice but to bring her along. As soon as she walked in, Su Wanwan threw herself into Zhang Zuihua's arms to complain, "Mom, no, Auntie, that old witch hit my palms again. I don't want to play the piano anymore, I want fried chicken." Zhang Zuihua's heart ached so much that tears kept falling. While coaxing her, she kept sneaking glances at Linya's expression. Linya sat on the worn-out sofa, her face so dark it seemed fit to drip water. "Wanwan, next week is the city competition, and you still can't even memorize the score. What kind of talk is that? I just can't memorize it, it's too hard." Su Wanwan wailed and rolled around on the floor. Linya was so angry that her hands were trembling. When she turned and saw me squatting in the corner picking vegetables, she immediately took her anger out on me. "What are you looking at? Go get some water." I silently got up, poured a glass of water, and placed it in front of her. Just then, Su Wanwan suddenly pointed at the piece of cardboard with piano keys drawn on it that I had placed at the corner of the table and shouted, "What is that? It's so ugly." She rushed over, snatched the cardboard away, and tore it to pieces. "You think you're worthy of playing the piano? You're just a garbage picker." Bits of paper fluttered down, landing at my feet. I looked at the scraps, my fingers curling slightly. Linya watched coldly from the sidelines, even with a hint of satisfaction. "Wanwan is right. Some things aren't for people like you to covet." She stood up and walked over to the second-hand piano that had been specially bought for Su Wanwan's practice and looked out of place in this dilapidated house. "Wanwan, come here, Mom will teach you again." Su Wanwan walked over unwillingly and began randomly pounding out a tune. The noise was grating, an outright insult to the piano. Linya suppressed her anger and corrected her again and again, but to no avail. In the end, Su Wanwan slammed the piano lid shut. "I'm not practicing anymore, whoever wants to practice can do it." After saying that, she ran out crying. Zhang Zuihua hurriedly chased after her. Only Linya and I remained in the room, along with the piano still humming softly. Linya pressed her temples, her face full of exhaustion and despair. She probably couldn't understand either why, when both she and her husband were musicians, the daughter they had given birth to was so dull-witted. Driven by some inexplicable impulse, I walked over. "I want to touch those black and white keys, even if it's only second-hand. Even if the tone isn't perfect, that is my life." The moment my fingertips touched the keys, Linya suddenly opened her eyes. "Don't touch it, you'll dirty my piano." But I had already pressed down. A crisp chord rang out, followed by a smooth run of notes. It was the phrase Su Wanwan had just been unable to play correctly no matter what. Linya's rebuke came to an abrupt halt. She looked at me in shock, her pupils contracting sharply. I did not stop. My fingers seemed to have a mind of their own, leaping and dancing across the keys. It was Flight of the Bumblebee, a piece that put both speed and touch to the test on this battered old piano. I played with the force of a mighty army. The resentment, unwillingness, and pain that had accumulated over 2 lifetimes all poured out at this moment. With my eyes closed, I was immersed in my own world, completely forgetting Linya behind me. It was only when the final note fell heavily that the lingering sound echoed through the narrow room. I panted heavily and slowly opened my eyes, then turned around. I thought I would see surprise in Linya's eyes, or perhaps remorse. After all, she was an artist who cherished talent as if it were her life. Even if she didn't acknowledge me, at the very least she would be moved by my talent. However, I was wrong, far from it. Linya stood there, her face as pale as paper, trembling all over. But it was not excitement, it was fear. It was the fury of having her fig leaf torn off in public, and the utter panic of seeing a lowly substitute actually crush her noble choice. She stared at me fixedly, her gaze venomous and resentful like a viper hissing with its tongue out. "Who taught you that?" Her voice was shrill, almost distorted. I looked at her and said calmly, "No one taught me, I learned it by listening myself." "You're lying, you little liar." She suddenly rushed over, grabbed the scalding tea from the table, and viciously splashed it onto my hand. A searing pain surged through me. I let out a miserable cry and fell to my knees. Clutching my hand, the boiling water had burned my hand red, and blisters had started to form, but that's not enough. Linya, like a madwoman, seized the heavy piano lid and slammed it down with all her might. You think you're worthy of playing the zither? Worthy, click. I heard the sound of finger bones breaking, a pain so intense it felt like it pierced my heart and radiated through every finger, nearly made me faint, but I bit my lip hard and didn't let myself faint. I raised my head and looked at the crazed woman before me, drenched in cold sweat. Her chest rose and fell violently, and the malice in her eyes was almost overflowing. You're just the daughter of a maid, you were born to be lowly. How dare you play better than Wan? How dare you? If people found out that the daughter I, Linya, carefully raised turned out to be a failure, while the daughter of a maid was a genius, where would I put my face? Would I still have any reputation left? So that's how it is, so this is the truth. In her heart, art is not important, and blood ties are not important, only her own pride, her reputation, and her hypocritical perfectionism matter most. She cannot tolerate the possibility that her choice was wrong, so, she was going to destroy me. If these hands refused to listen to me, I might as well cripple them. Linya looked down at me from above, a cruel smile curling at the corners of her mouth. Remember, this is the price you pay for deluding yourself into thinking you can climb over your master. At this moment, the last trace of my fantasy about maternal love in the depths of my heart was completely reduced to ashes. I looked at those twisted, deformed hands and laughed until tears came out. Linya, do you think this will be enough to destroy me? What you've destroyed is your only salvation. From today on, my name is no longer Zhang Zhaodi. I am an avenger from hell. I will make you watch with your own eyes as the genius you have desperately protected pushes you into the abyss. My hand is crippled, at least in Lin Ya's and Zhang Zuihua's eyes. That was the case. After that, my right index and middle fingers became slightly deformed. Zhang Zuihua didn't take me to the hospital either. She just casually applied a little toothpaste. Serves you right. Who told you to mess with madam's things? Zhang Zuihua cursed as she made me clean the toilet. I endured the excruciating pain and used my left hand to hold the brush, scrubbing away bit by bit. Linya thought she had ruined my hand and shattered my heart, but she didn't know that in my previous life, in order to perfect my staccato, I once practiced until my fingers fractured. I had already endured that. What was this little injury worth? I began doing rehabilitation exercises late at night, without a piano. I practiced finger tension in cold water and trained the toughness of my fingertips against rough walls. Those two deformed fingers were forcibly bent back into place by me. Although they were somewhat misshapen, it didn't affect their flexibility. On the contrary, because of this injury, my pain nerves became duller, allowing me to endure higher intensity practice. Meanwhile, Su Wanwan's genius persona was becoming increasingly untenable. She really messed up the city competition and didn't even make it past the preliminaries. In a fit of rage, Linya pulled every string she could and spent money to bribe the judges, forcing a consolation prize into Su Wanwan's hands. But that was only a temporary fix. As Su Wanwan got older and competed in higher-level contests, simply bribing the judges was no longer enough. She needs real strength, or a perfect substitute. That day after school, I was blocked by a black car. The window rolled down, revealing Lin Ya's well-maintained but somewhat haggard face. Get in the car, she said coldly. I got into the car and sat in the back seat. Linya handed me a file and a bank card. There's 500,000 here, enough for you and your money-grubbing mother to live on for several years. She didn't turn around and looked at me through the rearview mirror. There's only one condition, help Wanwan record the audio. I sneered inwardly. As expected, here it came. In my previous life, in order to force me to practice the piano, she didn't hesitate to smash my figurines and tear up my diary. In this life, for Su Wanwan, she actually made me be her ghostwriter. My hand is ruined, I can't play. I held up my slightly deformed right hand. Linya let out a scoff. Stop pretending. I held back when I smashed it that day. Besides, I asked a doctor, so long as the bones weren't shattered to pieces, it can be trained back. I know you've been practicing in secret. That idiot Zhang Zuihua can't tell, but you can't hide it from me. She turned around, her gaze sharp as a blade. Zhang Zhaodi, you're an intelligent person, you have talent, but you don't have the right background. You'll never be able to stand on stage in this lifetime. Rather than rot in the mud, you'd be better off selling your talent to Wanwan. She is the light, and you are the shadow. As long as Wanwan does well, I won't treat you unfairly. What a righteous-sounding excuse. Light and shadow. No, you want me to be Su Wanwan's stepping stone, to be the bones beneath her feet on her path to godhood. I looked at the card and remained silent for a long time, then, I reached out and took it. Fine, I said softly, I promise you. Linya smiled in satisfaction, her eyes carrying the arrogance of someone who controlled everything. That's more like it. Start recording tonight. There's a national selection competition next month, and Wanwan must win the gold award. I tightened my grip on the card, my nails digging deeply into my palm. Linya, do you think I'm doing this for money? No, I'm doing it to help you climb even higher. Only when you stand higher will you be shattered to pieces when you fall. I will lend my talent to Su Wanwan, but I will hide a deadly poison in every note. Su Wanwan used my recording to clear every hurdle all the way through. Gold award in the national selection competition, grand prize in the Asian Youth Piano Competition. Honors flew toward the Lin family like snowflakes. Su Wanwan became the piano princess. In the media, hailed as the perfect successor to Linya, she wore a custom-made gown and smiled gracefully and confidently under the flash of cameras. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, I wore a faded school uniform and kept recording those technically demanding pieces over and over again in the soundproof practice room Linya had specially prepared for me. Linya was very cautious. Every time I recorded, she would take away all my electronic devices and personally supervise me. After the recording, she would immediately take the master tape and destroy all backups. She thought that way there was no chance of failure, but what I gave her was never a perfect recording. In my handling of each piece, I added some extremely subtle yet highly personal, bad habits. For example, when handling vibrato, I would deliberately emphasize the third note. For example, during fast runs, would habitually make a microsecond level pause on a specific scale degree. These details were imperceptible to ordinary listeners, and even Linya, this so-called master, overlooked those tiny inconsistencies because of an excessive focus on the overall effect. But this is like a unique fingerprint. As long as they're truly top-tier pianists, they can tell at a single listen. Moreover, this style is extremely distinctive and forceful. Once it becomes muscle memory, it is very hard to imitate. Su Wanwan took my recording to lip-sync to it and fake play. She put on a show on stage, while the sound system was playing my piano performance. Everyone thought that was her style. Even Su Wanwan herself believed it. She began speaking at length in interviews, claiming that this unique treatment of syncopation was her own creation. I watched her on TV speaking eloquently, and laughed so hard my stomach hurt. Idiot, that was the flaw I deliberately left behind, that was the ticket into hell. Time flew by, and before long, it was the year I turned 18, an invitation to Vienna's Golden Hall finally arrived at the Lin family. That was the ultimate dream of every pianist, and it was also where my nightmare began in my previous life. Linya was so excited that she couldn't sleep well for days. She wanted to turn this performance into the coronation ceremony that would make Su Wanwan a legend, but there was one fatal problem. The performance at the Golden Hall was fully live, broadcast in real time, and even accompanied by a top-tier orchestra. Can't fake play, absolutely not. Linya was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. Su Wanwan was even more frightened, her face turning pale as she cried that she didn't dare go. Mom, I'll be exposed. That's Vienna, those music critics have ears sharper than dogs. Linya paced back and forth in the living room. In the end, her gaze fell on inconspicuous me in the corner. By then, I had already become the Lin family's invisible servant. Zhaodi, Linya's voice turned unusually gentle, so gentle it was downright chilling. You're coming with us. Going to do what? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. Go be Wanwan's stand-in. Linya walked over, grabbed my hand, her eyes wild. Once you're there, I'll arrange for you to stay backstage. There will be a special piano on stage, and Wanwan will sit there just for show, the one truly connected to the sound system is the one backstage. You'll be backstage, playing the concert for Wanwan until the end. This is a live broadcast to the whole world. As long as she succeeds, Wanwan will be a world-class pianist. There'll be no shortage of wealth and glory for you in the future. I looked at her crazed expression, and my heart turned cold. So this is what they call a mother, for the sake of vanity. She not only wanted to strip me of my talent, but also erase every trace of my existence. Let me spend my whole life as Su Wanwan's shadow, as that unseen ghost. Okay, I smiled and agreed, I'll definitely play it well. Linya, the greatest mistake of your life was handing the knife with your own hands to someone who hates you to the bone. Vienna's winter, with heavy snowfall, the Golden Hall was resplendent and magnificent, like a giant beast that devoured people's hearts. In the backstage dressing room, Su Wanwan was wearing a custom gown worth millions, trembling all over with nervousness. Mom, what if I'm exposed? What if the audio and video are out of sync? Linya was helping her straighten her skirt when she heard this and said in a low voice, "Shut up, I've already taken care of the technical team, the delay is controlled down to the millisecond. There's no way anyone can tell, as long as you keep your expression under control and your hand position isn't too outrageous, no one will notice." After saying that, she turned to look at me sitting in the corner. I was wearing a black hoodie with the hood up, looking like a ghost that never saw the light of day. In front of me was a black grand piano, connected to a complex set of audio equipment. Zhang Zhao Di, listen carefully. Linya walked up to me, her eyes dark and sinister. This is Rachmaninoff's third piano concerto, known as the Elephant's Piece. You've practiced for 3 years just for today. If you dare play even a single wrong note, or try any tricks, she leaned close to my ear, her voice like a demon's whisper, I'll make sure your gambling addict mother ends up dead in the street. So she had known all along that Zhang Zuihua had fallen into gambling, and had been secretly lending her money just to control me. I raised my head, revealing a pair of lifeless eyes. Don't worry, madam, I'll play it in a way you'll never forget for the rest of your life. The performance has begun. Su Wanwan took a deep breath, lifted her skirt, and walked onto the stage like a proud peacock. Thunderous applause. She sat before the 9-foot Steinway grand piano, adjusted her breathing, and then raised her hands. The conductor's baton fell, the orchestra's prelude began. I sat in the darkness behind the curtain, watching Su Wanwan's hypocritical face on the monitor. I also raised my hand. Linya stood behind me, staring intently at my hand, gripping a walkie-talkie tightly, ready to cut the signal at any moment. The prelude ended, and the piano came in. My fingers fell heavily. The stirring melody instantly echoed through the entire hall. Su Wanwan on stage cooperated by putting on an immersed expression, her body swaying to the music. Everything looked flawless. Linya let out a sigh of relief, a smug smile appearing on her face. The first movement, perfect. The second movement, perfect. The people in the audience listened in rapt fascination, and some even began quietly wiping away tears. So touching. This emotion is so full. This is absolutely a master-level performance. By the third movement, the most climactic and most difficult part of the entire piece, incredibly fast, with an extreme number of chords, it was a supreme challenge to both stamina and skill. Su Wanwan was playing, on stage, drenched in sweat, her expression pained and twisted, as if she were fighting against fate. Behind the scenes, my fingers moved so fast they were almost a blur. Linya clenched her fists in excitement, as if she could already see tomorrow's headline, "Genius Girl Conquers Vienna." At that moment my left hand suddenly stopped, only my right hand was still rapidly playing the main melody. The originally rich and powerful harmony instantly vanished, leaving only a thin melodic line drifting in the air. Linya's expression changed dramatically. "What are you doing? Where's the left hand?" I ignored her and kept playing with my right hand, but the tempo started to fluctuate, as if I were a drunken drunkard. Su Wanwan on stage was still desperately waving both hands, making it look as if she was violently pounding the keys, but the sound coming out of the speakers was a weak, intermittent melody played with one hand. The image and the sound were instantly torn apart. The audience erupted in an uproar. "What's going on? The sound is wrong. She's striking the lower register. So why is there no sound? That's the sound of one-handed playing. But she's playing with both hands." Su Wanwan was also panicked. She looked toward the backstage area in terror, and her movements completely fell apart. Amid this chaos, I suddenly stood up and yanked out the audio cable connected to the piano. Zzz. A piercing crackle of electricity tore through the air. Immediately after, the entire hall fell into a deathly silence. The speakers had gone silent, but Su Wanwan on stage was still playing. By inertia, her fingers were still dancing across the keys, but the piano was producing dull, dry, utterly unresonant thudding sounds, because that piano, in order to prevent sound leakage, had long been stuffed full of cotton and could not produce normal music at all. At this very moment, Su Wanwan was like a clown, performing a ridiculous mime on a silent stage. Time seemed to freeze. Su Wanwan finally realized what had happened. Her hand froze in midair, and the expression on her face changed from focus to sheer terror. The audience below stared in stunned silence, then erupted into a huge uproar. Lip-syncing. It's lip-syncing. My God, this is the Vienna Golden Hall. How dare she fake play? Fraud, refund. The angry roar surged toward the stage like a tsunami. Su Wanwan was so frightened that she trembled all over, collapsed onto the ground, and burst into tears with a wail. Backstage, Linya had gone crazy. She rushed over and tried to grab my neck. "What did you do, you bitch? I'm going to kill you." I dodged to the side, then shoved her backhanded, knocking her onto that pile of expensive equipment. What did I do? I took off my hood, revealing a pale face that was nevertheless filled with pleasure. I just don't want to play anymore. Pianist Lin, isn't this exactly the effect you wanted? Light and shadow. Now the light is gone, and the shadow doesn't want to play anymore. Linya was shaking with anger, and even the finger she pointed at me with was trembling. At that moment, several security guards and staff rushed into the backstage area. What happened? Who's causing trouble? I straightened my collar, pointed at Linya and Su Wanwan, who was still crying on the monitor, and said calmly, "Call the police, this is a complete and utter commercial fraud." That night, the scandal at Vienna's Golden Hall shocked the entire world. The hashtags #GeniusGirlFake playing hashtag and hashtag Linya scam hashtag instantly exploded across the trending searches. The live stream footage was cut into countless GIFs, and Su Wanwan's ridiculous silent mime performance became the joke of the entire internet. Linya tried to do damage control, claiming it was equipment failure and that someone had framed her, but in the face of ironclad evidence, all the explanations seemed pale and powerless. Even more devastatingly, some busybodies dug up recordings from Su Wanwan's earlier competitions, and after analysis with professional software, found that the waveforms and fingerprints of those recordings were completely inconsistent with Su Wanwan's own playing habits. Instead, they overlapped highly with a practice recording that had surfaced years earlier, said to be of the daughter of an unnamed nanny. Public opinion has completely reversed. Su Wanwan, once exalted to the altar, fell into the mire overnight, and Linya, this internationally renowned pianist, was also branded a forger's accomplice and a fraud who deceived the world. Her reputation utterly ruined. In the hotel, Linya, her hair disheveled, was smashing things like a madwoman. Su Wanwan cowered in the corner, crying non-stop. "Stop crying, you're so annoying." Linya grabbed a vase and hurled it over casually. It brushed past Su Wanwan's scalp and shattered all over the floor. "It's all that bitch. It's all Zhang Zhaodi's fault. That bitch hurt me." Linya's eyes were bloodshot as she ground her teeth in rage. "I'm going to kill her. I'm going to make her wish she were dead." Just then, there was a knock at the door. A police officer stood at the doorway, holding an arrest warrant. "Ms. Linya, you are suspected of business fraud, child abuse, and incitement to commit a crime. Please come with us." Linya was stunned. "Abusing a child? I didn't. Your foster daughter Zhang Zhaodi has already filed a report and provided a medical examination report," the police officer said coldly. "Also, during our investigation, we discovered that you have been funding Zhang Zuihua's gambling for a long time, and using that to threaten Zhang Zhaodi into providing you with illegal labor." Linya's legs went weak, and she collapsed to the ground. She looked at me, brought in by the police, her eyes full of disbelief. You actually dared to call the police?" I stood at the doorway, looking at this woman who had once been so high and mighty, now lying on the ground like a dead dog. Why wouldn't I dare? I raised the hand whose fingers she had once smashed and broken. This account should be settled now. Linya was taken away. Because Su Wanwan was a minor, she was sent back to China and handed over to her biological mother, Zhang Zuihua. But Zhang Zuihua was currently being hunted by loan sharks over gambling debts, and simply had no time to care for her. The little princess of the past has now become a rat everyone wants to beat. The day I returned to China, I was surrounded and blocked by a large group of reporters at the airport. "Miss Zhang, may I ask, were those recordings really played by you?" "Miss Zhang, what do you think of Ms. Linya's actions?" "Miss Zhang, I hear you're a true genius. Why did you hide it for so many years?" The flashing lights hurt my eyes. I took the microphone, looked at the camera, and said calmly, "I'm not a genius. I'm just an ordinary person who doesn't want fate to grip me by the throat. As for Ms. Linya," I paused, a hint of irony curling at the corner of my mouth, "she simply made a choice. It's just that, she made the wrong one." The tide of public opinion had completely turned in my favor. People began to sympathize with my ordeal and marvel at my talent. Top music academies extended olive branches to me, and renowned orchestras invited me to collaborate. At last, I could stand in the sunlight and play my own music under my own name. As for Linya, her days were far from easy. Although, for various reasons, she was not given a severe sentence, her career was completely ruined. All of her sponsors terminated their contracts, all of her performances were cancelled, and she was also faced with huge compensation claims. She sold her mansion and sold her fine violin, and in the end could only rent a small apartment. That day, I was preparing for my first solo concert. Just before I was about to go on stage, an uninvited guest arrived backstage. It was Linya. In just a few short months, she seemed to have aged 10 years. Her once well-maintained face was now covered in wrinkles, her hair had turned gray, and she was wearing cheap street market clothes. She looked at me in my exquisite gown, her expression extraordinarily complicated. There was jealousy, regret, and a trace of fawning. "Xiaodi," she mumbled, "please call me Miss Zhang, or Miss Lin." I interrupted her coldly. "I have already reverted to my father's surname, although that father has long been dead. It means that there is no longer any connection between me and her." Lin Ya's eyes turned red, and she actually dropped to her knees with a thud. "Xiaodi, Mom was wrong. Mom really knows she was wrong." She burst into tears and reached out, trying to grab the hem of my dress. "Mom was blinded by greed. Mom was blind to your worth. Actually, Mom has regretted it for a long time. Back then, during the fire, Mom was just confused for a moment. Look, you're so successful now, and Mom is happy for you too. After all, we're mother and daughter, and blood is thicker than water. Can you help Mom? Mom can't even afford to eat now, and those creditors are blocking the door every day." Looking at the woman in front of me, crying her eyes out, I felt not a trace of emotion. I even found it a little ridiculous. Was this what they called love that comes late? No, this was just opportunism born of desperation. If Su Wanwan had succeeded, would she still come to see me just once? I'm afraid she'd only think I hadn't died far enough away, afraid I'd dirty her place. Ms. Lin, I took a step back, avoiding her hand. "Did you forget something? Forget you smashing my hand, forget you scalding me with boiling water, forget you forcing me to be your ghostwriter. Blood is thicker than water," I sneered, "the moment you chose to save Su Wanwan, the moment you wanted to ruin me for the sake of your own pride. That blood had long since dried up, but I'm your mother. Without me, there'd be no you." Linya was still making excuses. I crouched down and looked her straight in the eyes. "No, you're the one who got it wrong. You gave birth to me, but you were also the one who ruined me. As for the one who made me who I am," I stood up, straightened my skirt, and turned toward the stage entrance. "It was me, myself, the one who crawled out of hell." "Security, show the guest out." Linya was dragged out by security. Her cries echoed in the corridor, but they could no longer affect me in the slightest. I walked onto the stage, the spotlight fell on me, and below the stage was a dark sea of audience members. This time, there was no stand-in, no lip-syncing, no backstage, only me, and that piano that belonged to me. I sat down and took a deep breath. My fingers fell. It was still Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 3, but this time, every note was filled with power and freedom. I played my suffering, my struggle, my rebirth. The music poured out like a torrent, stirring every soul in the room. The piece came to an end. The entire hall fell silent for 3 seconds, then erupted into thunderous applause. That was genuine applause, a tribute to the strong. I stood up and bowed deeply. Tears finally spilled down uncontrollably, not from grievance, but from relief. In my previous life, I died on the column of humiliation in Vienna. In this lifetime, I rebuilt my own kingdom on the ruins of Vienna. After the performance, I saw Su Wanwan backstage. She was wearing faded, washed-out clothes, hiding in a corner with a timid, fearful look in her eyes. Seeing me come out, she shrank back a little. Cousin, she called softly. I heard that Zhang Cuihua had run off to hide from debt, leaving her alone in the rented apartment. She had no education, no skills, and not even the most basic ability to survive. The former child prodigy can't even do the dishes properly now. I looked at her, and there was no hatred in my heart, only a sense of sorrow. She was also a pitiful person, lifted up and ruined by Linya, consumed by vanity, and in the end became a worthless person. "There's a card here, and the password is your birthday." I handed her a card. "There isn't much money in it, but it's enough for you to learn a skill and live a good life." Su Wanwan froze, trembling as she took the card, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. I shook my head and turned to leave. I didn't forgive her, and I didn't forgive Linya, but I forgave myself. Hatred is a double-edged sword. It harms others and oneself. Now that I've reached the summit, there's no need to keep struggling with the mud. When I walked out of the theater, the snow outside had stopped. Sunlight fell on the snow, reflecting a dazzling glow. I take a deep breath, and the air is crisp and sweet. This is the smell of freedom. This is also the smell of rebirth. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see my best friend. Determined to win the modeling competition, insisted on taking a strange beauty pill. It promised rapid body slimming and weight loss without the need for dieting or exercise. As an enthusiast of metaphysics, I knew that this beauty pill contained the eggs of corpse insects. It could make the host's figure slender and skin smooth, but the side effects were extremely terrifying. Seeing that she wouldn't listen to my advice, I had no choice but to secretly switch the medicine with vitamin pills. As a result, she narrowly missed out on the championship, watching helplessly as her competitor signed with a top-tier agency and started dating a wealthy second-generation boyfriend. After learning the truth, she claimed to understand my good intentions, but behind my back, she drugged me. I was sold to a perverted old man abroad, where I endured humiliation and died. Opening my eyes again, my best friend was holding a medicine bottle and asking me, "Cece, do you want to buy this super effective beauty tool?" My best friend's words startled me, and I couldn't help but shiver. Looking around, I found myself standing downstairs in the dormitory. I had actually been reborn. Luo Xiaoman went on and on about the magical effects of the beauty pill. I steadied myself and said with a smile, "How could I compare to your natural beauty? Eating it wouldn't do me any good. Besides, I still have to attend the school team training. The coach doesn't allow us to lose weight." Luo Xiaoman chuckled and said, "That's true," then went inside to ask the other roommates, "Super effective skincare products, aren't you going to buy them?" Li Qin casually asked about the price and was shocked by the exorbitant cost of 5,000 per bottle. Her mouth agape, "It's too expensive, I can't afford it." Luo Xiaoman sneered and glanced at her. "Ha, I never expected you could afford it anyway." She was asking Song Wenxi, who was in a better financial situation. Song Wenxi glanced at Luo Xiaoman while combing her hair. "Is this skincare product made of gold?" Luo Xiaoman smiled proudly. "You know what? The precious ingredients in here are even more expensive than gold. No need to diet or exercise, rapid weight loss in 7 days, and it also beautifies and nourishes the skin." Song Wenxi threw down the comb and turned to climb onto the bed. "Is it some multi-level marketing product? I've tried 10 or 8 similar products, each one boasting itself as a miracle cure, but in reality, they're completely useless." Luo Xiaoman scoffed. "If you don't believe me, that's fine. I've seen the shop owner herself. She's a living advertisement. Even in her 30s, she looks just like a college girl, slim and beautiful." Li Qin was tempted and took the packaging bag from Luo Xiaoman, examining it over and over. An ordinary aluminum foil bag, with a simple label attached. "This product is rich in precious herbal essences, made from a secret family recipe, handcrafted, natural and free of side effects." Everything was exactly the same as in the previous life. Luo Xiaoman opened the packaging, revealing small white oblong pills inside, looking no different from ordinary vitamin tablets. I remained silent the entire time, watching as Luo Xiaoman took out a pill and swallowed it. "A fat woman has no future. What can a woman who can't even control her own weight possibly achieve? Just wait and see the results, you country bumpkins." After saying that, she swayed her hips and went out to freshen up. Li Qin watched her retreating figure and said enviously, "Actually, Man is already very slim, and she's still desperately trying to lose weight for the modeling competition." As she spoke, she patted the life buoy around her waist in frustration. "I have so much fat on my stomach. I'm the one who really needs to lose weight. I've been single since birth. I haven't even held a guy's hand." I shook my head. "Don't listen to her spreading anxiety. Health always comes first." Li Qin looked at me in confusion. "Cece, why do you say that? Aren't you and Man the closest?" I didn't explain further and simply climbed onto the bed. Closing my eyes, the nightmare-like experiences from my previous life were still vivid in my mind. Luo Xiaoman was tall and beautiful. She had a strong personality, was determined to become a star, and was passionate about participating in various competitions and talent shows. However, each time she was just a little short of making it to the rankings. This time, she spared no expense to enroll in a modeling training class, where the teacher was said to be a judge for this competition. After the training, the teacher privately commented that her thighs were slightly too thick, which was not ideal for showcasing clothing, and advised her to slim down a bit in the short term. Speaking of this, Luo Xiaoman was filled with bitter tears. She was born with thick legs, and the fat on her thighs just wouldn't go away no matter what. She had bought massagers, hired personal trainers, and even joined a training camp, where she fainted from hunger several times. Not only did it cost her all her savings, but the process was so painful that she couldn't bear it. Until this time, an online friend she had met by chance shared a super effective beauty secret with her and sent her the address. Luo Xiaoman went, half believing and half doubting. when she returned. She told me that although the beauty salon was located in an inconspicuous alley in the suburbs, the owner was incredibly beautiful and unforgettable. Her every move exuded the charm of a mature woman, yet her skin was smooth, firm, and flawless like a young girl's, with a perfectly proportioned figure and not an ounce of excess fat. The owner said it was her family's secret recipe, which not only helped with slimming but also nourished the blood and energy. She had been taking it for over 10 years. Luo Xiaoman bought it on a whim. As she spoke, Luo Xiaoman took out that medicine bottle to show me. I usually enjoy watching videos about metaphysics and supernatural tales, and I had long heard of this kind of beauty-enhancing pill. Its remarkable effectiveness is due to the fact that it contains corpse insect eggs. The corpse worm grows rapidly inside the human body, and the mucus it secretes can make one glow with health. However, once the corpse worm matures, it will devour the host from the inside out, leaving only a human skin behind. I immediately warned Luo Xiaoman that such an unknown substance should not be consumed. She laughed at me, saying I had read too many novels and could no longer distinguish between fiction and reality. Maybe the other contestants have already taken it, and if I don't, I'll fall behind. You only have one chance to be 20 years old, and this time I must win the championship. Seeing her stubbornness, I had no choice but to secretly replace her beauty pills with vitamins. As a result, her life was saved, but her weight didn't change much. In the end, she missed out on the championship and only came back with a third-place finish. The prize money for third place is also quite substantial. Seeing that she was in a relatively stable mood, I decided to tell her the truth. She didn't blame me. Instead, she said she had already thought it through. I was her best friend and would never harm her, and those unknown medications were indeed harmful to her health. She had just been too eager to win the championship, which led her to take such a drastic measure. She plans to use the bonus to take me on a trip. I didn't suspect a thing. Little did I know, she secretly drugged my drink and sold me to a perverted old man with a particular fetish for Asian girls. She watched as I was stripped naked and locked in a cage in the basement, stripped of all dignity. Do you know that my biggest rival in the training class also took that beauty-enhancing pill? She won the championship and quickly signed with the top modeling agency. Even the heir of the Patek group is pursuing her. Do you know that your meddling ruined my dream, and you still expect me to thank you? I spit on you, go to hell. She spat fiercely in my face, ignoring my desperate pleas, and resolutely turned to leave. Thank heavens for letting me see Luo Xiaoman's true colors and giving me a chance to start over. I took a deep breath and sent a private message to that metaphysics blogger before going to sleep. The next day, I was awakened by Luo Xiaoman's singing. She hummed a song while applying makeup. Looking in high spirits, Li Qin watched with envy beside her and couldn't help but praise. Man, you're truly radiant today. That big, red, swollen pimple on your nose from yesterday has disappeared overnight. That beauty pill really works wonders. Luo Xiaoman looked left and right in the mirror, feeling quite satisfied. With less than a month left until the model competition, she simply stopped attending classes altogether, spending every day admiring herself in the mirror. Of course, the beauty-enhancing pills were a daily must. A week passed, and Luo Xiaoman had slimmed down a full size. This kind of slimness was completely different from the kind achieved through dieting and starvation. Dieting can lead to hair loss and make the complexion dull and haggard, but Luo Xiaoman is currently in excellent condition. Her skin is crystal clear, with a delicate pink glow, her waist is slender, and her chest is full and round, showing no signs of shrinkage. Even her thighs, which used to trouble her the most, have slimmed down significantly. After putting on a swimsuit, her legs appear long and straight. Li Qin has recently become Luo Xiaoman's biggest fan, following her around every day, eagerly helping her queue up for meals, carrying her bags, and holding her umbrella. Her words are as sweet as honey. Man, you look absolutely stunning now. I dare say the modeling competition champion is definitely you. Luo Xiaoman glanced at me indifferently and smiled at Li Qin, saying, Xiao Qin, you're so kind, unlike some people who are so jealous and immediately change their expression when they see a friend doing better than themselves. Li Qin immediately understood and gave me a fierce glare. Of course, I'm not like some people with jealous eyes. I will always be your most loyal friend. It seems she told Luo Xiaoman what I had said to her earlier. I guess she envies Luo Xiaoman's beauty pills but is too strapped for cash, so she's trying to please Luo Xiaoman everywhere, hoping to get some benefits. Li Qin came from a small town and made it here through hard work. She has an ordinary appearance and a poor family background, which has always made her feel very inferior. In her previous life, she spent most of her time studying at her desk, and Luo Xiaoman couldn't even be bothered to glance at her. My impression of her was simply that she was diligent and plain. I never expected her to have so many little schemes. Coincidentally, in my previous life, I died too early and didn't get to see Luo Xiaoman eventually being hollowed out by corpse worms. Heaven has been kind to me, not only granting me a second chance at life but also adding new twists to my story. The modeling competition came to an end, and Luo Xiaoman unquestionably took home the championship. That very night, she was invited by Song Yonghao to a victory celebration party. Song Yonghao is a well-known rich second-generation student at our school. With his family running the prestigious Bida group, he didn't want to live on campus, so his family specially bought him a villa near the school. Even for such a short distance, he would drive his supercar to and from school. He is flamboyant and likes beautiful women. The winner of the model competition in the previous life was the department beauty of our school's art department. Song Yonghao also threw a grand celebration party for her and publicly announced their relationship the next day. Since then, the girl's standard of living has visibly improved by several levels. She signed with a well-known modeling agency in the industry, was chauffeured in luxury cars, wore expensive diamond watches on her wrist, and carried designer handbags worth 6 figures on her arm, to make it convenient for her work and their weekend getaways. Song Yonghao thoughtfully bought her an apartment in the city center. Luo Xiaoman won 3rd place, and on the day she returned with her trophy, I spent half a month's living expenses to treat her to a lavish meal at a high-end restaurant. She even thanked me insincerely, saying she wanted to invite me to travel together. In reality, what she envied was the house and luxury goods others had received, and she had long harbored deep hatred for me, turning around to have me killed. But in this life, she got her wish and could finally fly together with the eldest son of the Song family. I'm curious to see what kind of spectacular outcome relying on such sinister methods like corpse insect eggs will ultimately bring. Luo Xiaoman didn't return to the dormitory all night. It wasn't until the next afternoon that she showed up in the dormitory, looking quite pleased with herself, to pack her things. Neither I nor Song Wenxi said a word, only Li Qin, full of envy, pulled her aside to ask all sorts of questions. She had accepted Song Yonghao's pursuit and was going to move into his villa to live with him. Not long after, Luo Xiaoman appeared as a guest on a beauty variety show. Facing the camera, she smiled confidently and spoke eloquently, her beautiful face overshadowing the host beside her by a large margin. Gradually, Luo Xiaoman gained popularity and her own fans, and it was said that she was about to become a regular guest on that variety show. She attended classes less and less frequently. On the rare occasions she came to school, Li Qin would diligently attend to her every need, carrying her bags and holding an umbrella for her. However, since Li Qin started hanging out with Luo Xiaoman, she had noticeably become much prettier. Her once plump waist had slimmed down considerably, her face had thinned into a delicate heart shape, and she had even chosen the most handsome guy from those pursuing her to date. Luo Xiaoman couldn't help but sneer when she saw me. Zhang Yushi, I bet you never thought I'd have a day like this. If you kneel down and apologize to me now, I might just let you have a taste of the good life too. Faced with the provocation, I just smiled good-naturedly. Man, what are you talking about? As a friend, I've always wished you well. The effect of this beauty pill is amazing. I can't find the store address you sent me before. Could you send it to me again? She gave me a disdainful glance. You really want it? Dream on. As she spoke, she proudly popped 2 pills into her mouth. Now I have money, and I take double the dose. Envious. Bet you're drooling. I sneered coldly as I watched her walk away. I used to think she was just delicate and vain, but I never imagined she could be so vicious deep down. Eat a little more. The more bugs there are, the more interesting it gets. Luo Xiaoman, hailed by the media as a once-in-8,000 years beauty, successfully signed with a talent agency, every day is either going on shows or attending various events and parties. Due to excessive absences, all her teachers decided to fail her and have her retake the courses, but Luo Xiaoman didn't care at all and immediately applied to drop out of school. I'm already a celebrity, and I have plenty of ways to make money. Who cares about your worthless diploma? Her acting career has been smooth sailing, and recently she was even selected by a major brand to shoot their new season's advertisement. That brand happens to be a partner of Song Yonghao's family company. Everyone says Luo Xiaoman's life is simply too good. Not only does she have an outstanding appearance and a thriving career, but her boyfriend's family background is also so impressive, capable of bringing her immense support. But I gradually began to sense something was off. It started with Li Qin. Ever since Li Qin became Luo Xiaoman's die-hard fan, she often drags girls from other dorms to watch Luo Xiaoman's shows together. That day, Several of them gathered around the computer again, laughing non-stop. A female classmate suddenly said, "Li Qin, you've lost quite a bit of weight recently, and even your skin has become fairer. Is there any secret? Share it with us, please." Li Qin spread her hands. "What secret is there? It's just about controlling your mouth and moving your legs," but her smug expression made me wonder if her transformation might also be related to the beauty pill. However, Li Qin's family was in poor financial condition, and she had to take out student loans to pay for her university education. Just as I was pondering this, a girl suddenly let out a gasp. "Oh, Xiao Qin, something suddenly bulged out on your forehead just now." Li Qin's expression immediately turned tense, and she quickly grabbed the mirror beside her. Looking at it over and over, another girl took a closer look and said, "Where, are your eyes tired from staring at the screen for too long?" After saying that, she yawned. "Let's go back and sleep early. Tomorrow's first class is with the Extinction Master, and she loves taking attendance." All the classmates had left, but Li Qin was still staring at herself in the mirror. Her face was ashen and frighteningly ugly. After the lights went out, the rustling sounds from Li Qin's side kept me awake. Song Wenxi was closer to Li Qin, and I heard her tossing and turning several times, clearly unable to sleep as well. Suddenly, she sat up and said to Li Qin with annoyance, "Li Qin, what on earth are you doing? I've been putting up with you for a long time. As soon as night falls, you keep scratching endlessly. Haven't you taken a bath in too long? Can you find some time to take a shower? Could you not disturb others?" After a long while, Li Qin whispered, "It seems like mosquitoes have gotten into the dormitory. They've bitten me several times, and it's really itchy." After saying that, she went to the bathroom and never came out again. Early the next morning, Li Qin left. She said pitifully that she had applied to the teacher to switch to an empty dorm room. Song Wenxi sneered and said to me, "She's pretending to be pitiful now. You have no idea. I can hardly stand her anymore. Every night, there are strange noises, and on top of that, she smells terrible, smelly." I did notice Li Qin making sounds, but I didn't smell any odor on her. Could it be because Song Wenxi was closer to Li Qin? After finishing speaking, Song Wenxi asked me again, "Haven't you noticed that Luo Xiaoman has been acting very strange lately?" Her words clearly carried an underlying meaning. I thought about it carefully, and indeed, lately, I've always felt an indescribable awkwardness about Luo Xiaoman, inexplicably reminding me of the monster in Painted Skin that wears a beautiful human disguise. Meanwhile, that metaphysics blogger replied to me. His name is Huang Tao. He had been away on business recently and hadn't had time to check his private messages. After hearing my description and doubts, he was almost certain that Luo Xiaoman had taken the beauty pills made from corpse insect eggs. This medicine is remarkably effective, and almost no woman can resist the temptation of becoming more beautiful. During the process of hatching and growing, corpse worms secrete a special substance that can be addictive, making it impossible to quit after a period of time. His former girlfriend was a model who also accidentally came into contact with this dreadful thing, causing a drastic change in her personality and ultimately leading to a tragic end. He has been tracking the mysterious female boss who sells the drug, but she is elusive and disappears at the slightest hint of trouble, causing him to repeatedly come up empty-handed. The reason he runs a self-media account is to gather more followers and thereby obtain information. Unfortunately, the vast majority of girls are unwilling to admit that they achieved their beauty through unconventional means, so the intelligence gathering has not been going smoothly. At one point recently, the trail even went completely cold. He thought I wanted to save Luo Xiaoman and said with great regret that to be saved, one needs to possess an exceptionally strong willpower. Compared to overcoming the physical addiction, breaking free from the psychological dependency is even more challenging. After all, beauty came effortlessly, and after experiencing such a highlight, who would willingly go back to being their former self? I didn't tell him the truth. After all, I didn't want to care about Luo Xiaoman. I wished she would run into trouble sooner, but Huang Tao's other words touched me. He said that failing to help his girlfriend was a lifelong regret, and now he only wanted to save more unsuspecting people. So I told him all the relevant information I had previously obtained from Luo Xiaoman. In exchange, I also asked him to do me a favor. Not long after Li Qin moved out of the dormitory, she stopped attending classes and broke up with her boyfriend. The counselor asked the class monitor to inquire, but both Song Wenxi and I said we didn't know the details. Helpless, she had no choice but to call Luo Xiaoman. Who would have thought that as soon as Luo Xiaoman heard Li Qin's name, she was so frightened that she dropped the phone. I clearly heard her screaming in panic on the other end of the line. "I don't know. Why are you asking me? I know nothing." After saying that, she quickly hung up the phone, and when I tried calling back, it was already turned off. What's going on with this Luo Xiaoman? Why does her voice sound so terrifying? It's as if she's seen a ghost. Wasn't she on good terms with Li Qin? The class monitor couldn't find out anything and left helplessly. But I know what's going on with Luo Xiaoman. Huang Tao learned some inside information through a fan. That fan used to be the project manager of Bida Group and was recently laid off, in fact, due to a series of decision-making mistakes. Bida Group's profits have been shrinking repeatedly, and now it's left with only a shaky, hollow shell. As for Luo Xiaoman, her life is far from as glamorous as it appears to outsiders. Everyone used to think Luo Xiaoman's work resources were obtained through Song Yonghao. In fact, it was quite the opposite. The Song family's company was only able to survive thanks to Luo Xiaoman. Song Yonghao's villa and sports car were both rented. He went to great lengths to maintain his image as a rich second-generation heir, all to get close to various beautiful women. He pays attention to various beauty pageants and will pursue suitable targets once he finds them. The items he buys for the woman are all high-quality imitations. The house is rented, and the property certificate is a fake. After being with the woman for a while, he will use both soft and hard tactics, employing despicable means such as filming private videos to force the woman to serve his purposes. As the former project leader, he had personally witnessed Luo Xiaoman being sent to various men's suites after dinner parties. The large company that invited Luo Xiaoman to shoot the advertisement this time is the biggest client and financial backer of the Bida Group. If they stop their business cooperation with Bida, Bida will suffer a heavy blow. Fortunately, the big boss of this client is a playboy who is most fond of all kinds of beautiful women. He looks down on those low-class women outside, so Song Yonghao caters to his preferences and tries every means to send his girlfriends to his bed, but it is said that this big boss is quite old, appearing righteous and dignified on the surface, but privately he is particularly twisted and perverted. Not only is he skilled at tormenting people, but he is also very fickle, always getting bored quickly, and Luo Xiaoman is the most beautiful among Song Yonghao's girlfriends. So not only did she successfully help Bida secure the contract renewal, but she also landed a job opportunity for herself. After saying that, the project manager sighed, lamenting that such a beautiful girl would be ruined by an old man. What a pity, how ironic the ways of the world are. In my previous life, Luo Xiaoman, in order to get revenge on me, handed me over to a perverted old man to be tortured. This time, it was her turn. In fact, even if Song Yonghao hadn't forced her, she had no other choice. Luo Xiaoman valued beauty and face more than anything else. Her noble lady persona requires a substantial amount of money to maintain, and her beauty demands the same. Originally, she intended to cling tightly to the wealthy second-generation heir, but now she finds that her attempt to gain something has backfired, leaving her with no choice but to earn money on her own. However, compared to Luo Xiaoman, who can still make money by selling her body, Li Qin is not so fortunate. I saw her again 2 months later. During the lunch break, she suddenly barged into the dormitory. I almost didn't recognize her. In early autumn, the midday temperature was still quite high, yet Li Qin had herself wrapped up tightly, not only wearing long sleeves and pants, but also a scarf and a mask. As soon as she entered the door, she frantically asked me if Luo Xiaoman had been to school recently. Song Wensi covered her mouth and started retching, and this time I could smell it too. She had gained a lot of weight and was emitting a strong, foul odor, like rotten fish and shrimp in a seafood market. We immediately backed away. Luo Xiaoman has already dropped out of school, you know that. Why would she come back? Li Ting was extremely agitated. I don't believe it. Did you hide her? As she spoke, she frantically scratched the skin on her face and neck. Her mask was torn off, and only then did I notice that Li Qin's face and neck were covered in large, red, swollen bumps that seemed to be wriggling beneath the skin. Seeing me and Song Wensi stunned, Li Qin couldn't help but curse loudly. Damn Luo Xiaoman, she's going to be the death of me. It turned out that Luo Xiaoman had suddenly started ignoring Li Qin. She wouldn't answer calls, reply to messages, and even the house she used to live in was now empty. But Luo Xiaoman still occasionally shares her luxurious celebrity life online, which shows that she is deliberately avoiding Li Qin. Li Qin had no choice but to search every possible place. Seeing that Luo Xiaoman really hadn't returned, she had no choice but to leave, grumbling all the way. Looking at her current state, it matches exactly what Huang Tao said. It must be that the corpse worms have already hatched into adults inside the body. Luo Xiaoman's self-media account is not updated every day. During the last program, Luo Xiaoman suddenly frowned, covered her mouth, and almost vomited. Later, she temporarily withdrew from the program due to physical discomfort. To keep track of her activities, I bought some of her merchandise and managed to sneak into her fan group. One day, a few people in the group mentioned that Luo Xiaoman's public appearances had been decreasing lately, wondering if she was planning to get married and retire from the industry. Recalling her gagging on the show, someone speculated, could she be pregnant soon? Someone else chimed in to disagree, impossible, she's incredibly career-driven, she must really be sick. I ran into her at the hospital the other day and saw the doctor schedule a CT scan for her. You can't do this during pregnancy, so don't worry, it's definitely not pregnancy. Sister has always been very diligent, but she's rarely been seen lately. I'm so worried about my beautiful sister. Woo-woo, don't believe rumors, don't spread rumors, let's wait for sister to recover and make a comeback. After finishing my training in the evening, I was just about to head back to the dorm when someone suddenly rushed out from the side. At the same time, a sharp object pressed against the small of my back. Luo Xiaoman's eerie voice sounded beside my ear. Well, Zhang Yushi, it was you who had someone investigate that shop, wasn't it? What exactly do you want? Do you even know that shop has closed down? Now I can't get the beauty pills anymore, and that lunatic Li Qin is still looking for me everywhere. You've really done me in. At such close range, even though she was wearing perfume, I could still catch the faint, fishy odor on her. I forced myself to stay calm. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Furious, she pressed the cold metal against me, piercing through my clothes. A sharp pain shot through my lower back. Don't play dumb with me. I only told you about the boss's wife. I didn't even tell Li Qin. Don't think I don't know. You've never had good intentions. It must be that Huang Tao has already taken action. I tried to slow down my tone and deal with her. I really don't know. Those small workshops that produce 3No products often change locations to avoid inspections. Maybe they'll come back after a while. You're a big star now, living in a completely different world from me. I have no reason to be jealous of you. Besides, you're already beautiful enough. You have a successful career and a wealthy boyfriend. There's no need for you to take any more beauty pills. What do you know? Precisely because I'm a big star, I can't do without beauty pills. I only have a little left now. What am I supposed to do in the future? Sure enough, as soon as her appearance and boyfriend were mentioned, she couldn't help but get excited, her hands trembling. I seized the opportunity to grab her wrist, exerting force and turning around, pinning her hand behind her back. It hurts. With a clatter, the knife in her hand fell to the ground. The small playground here is very remote, and once it gets dark, not a single person can be seen. Just as I was considering how to take this madman to the police station, a terrifyingly familiar voice sounded behind me. Luo Xiaoman, I've finally found you. Li Qin has finally arrived. I was the one who told her that Luo Xiaoman would likely come to cause trouble for me soon, so she should be extra vigilant. But at this moment, if I hadn't recognized her voice, I wouldn't have been able to identify the person standing before me. After not seeing her for a while, her appearance had become even more terrifying. Her body was swollen beyond recognition, like an overinflated balloon, with her face and neck haphazardly wrapped in bandages stained with dark, dried blood. Her exposed eyes were bloodshot, seemingly writhing with each breath she took. She was approaching step by step. Luo Xiaoman let out a terrified scream, using all her strength to break free from my grasp, staggering as she tried to run. But Li Qin lunged forward, grabbed her by the hair, and pinned her down firmly. Where's the medicine? Give me the medicine. You still have it, don't you? I heard you say it. You still have the pills. As she spoke, she reached out and began searching all over Luo Xiaoman's body. Hand them over quickly, or I'll kill you, Luo Xiaoman pleaded tearfully, but Li Qin acted as if she couldn't hear her, slapping her hard while demanding to know where the pills were. From her words, I understood the true nature of the situation. Li Qin had always been deeply insecure about her slightly plump figure and was greatly tempted by the changes she saw in Luo Xiaoman after taking the medication. Unfortunately, she was short on money and couldn't afford the beauty pills, which cost 5,000 yuan per bottle. In order to get a few pills from Luo Xiaoman, she willingly became her devoted follower and admirer. Luo Xiaoman also had her own little scheme. She enjoyed Li Qin's praise and admiration, so she gave her a few pills. After Li Qin successfully lost weight, she got a handsome boyfriend and became even more grateful to Luo Xiaoman, always ready to help whenever needed. Later, Song Yonghao revealed his true colors. He threatened Luo Xiaoman with compromising videos, forcing her to accompany those client bosses. Luo Xiaoman had no other choice. Song Yonghao was clearly a fake with only a superficial appearance, so she had to rely on herself to earn money for medicine. Once the indecent video was exposed, her path to stardom would be instantly destroyed, leading to even greater losses. Sometimes, when Luo Xiaoman was too annoyed, she would have Li Qin take her place to accompany clients in bed. At that time, Li Qin had already become gradually addicted to the beauty pills and had no choice but to obediently comply. Gradually, Luo Xiaoman found it really convenient to boss Li Qin around. She tasted the sweetness and began to use Li Qin to make money, just in case. She never told Li Qin any information about the shop. If Li Qin wanted to get the beauty pills, she had to come to her, until one time, when Li Qin accompanied a client to a hotel, she ran into her boyfriend at the hotel entrance. Her boyfriend angrily slapped her across the face and then broke up with her. However, Luo Xiaoman advised her that there are plenty of men out there, and as long as she had beauty and a good figure, she wouldn't have to worry about finding a boyfriend. Li Qin began to fall into appearance anxiety, and her demand for beauty pills grew larger and larger. However, at this very moment, Luo Xiaoman suddenly became stingy. He often dragged her along with various excuses, and later simply disappeared. Li Qin noticed that her body was becoming increasingly abnormal. In fact, there had been signs all along. At first, every night she felt as if insects were crawling under her skin, and the itching was unbearable. Luo Xiaoman lied to her, saying it was a mild side effect that would disappear after a while, but ever since she stopped taking the medication, the side effects have become increasingly severe. Her weight began to rebound, her body emitted a disgusting odor, and her face became covered with dense, swollen bumps. What's even more terrifying is that those pus-filled bumps actually move. Luo Xiaoman, not only did you make me accompany those disgusting old men, but you also deceived me and turned me into this state. Li Qin grew angrier as she spoke, and her blows became increasingly vicious. In a short while, Luo Xiaoman was beaten to a pulp. She kept pleading, "I didn't mean to avoid you on purpose. I can't get the medicine myself anymore, really. Now I feel terrible every day, like I'm going to die." As she spoke, she tried to shift the blame onto me. "It's all Zhang Yushi's fault. She had someone investigate the shop owner. I still need to settle the score with her." Upon hearing this, Li Qin looked up and searched around for me. I had already taken advantage of their scuffle to slip into the shadows and hide. Unfortunately, the phone was dropped in the panic, making it impossible to call for help at the moment. Taking advantage of Li Qin's momentary distraction as she looked up, Luo Xiaoman pushed her away forcefully, scrambled to her feet, and ran. Li Qin picked up the knife and chased after her fiercely. The two of them tangled together again not far away. I took the opportunity to slip over and find my phone. Just after finishing the emergency call, I heard a sharp scream from over there. Someone had been stabbed with a knife, hiding behind a tree. I witnessed a scene I will never forget. Luo Xiaoman was lying on the ground, her hands gripping the knife handle, the blade deeply embedded in Li Qin's chest, who was pressing down on her. At that moment, Li Qin suddenly let out a gagging sound, and her body began to convulse violently. In a bizarre posture, she started vomiting uncontrollably. It was less like vomiting and more like something was trying to crawl out of her throat. As her convulsions grew more intense, a thick worm crawled out of her mouth. Under the streetlight, I could clearly see the worm's mouth, where rows of sharp teeth gleamed with a chilling light. Luo Xiaoman was clearly terrified, having even forgotten to scream. The next second, the worm lunged at her face, frantically devouring her flesh. As if resonating with something, countless blood holes suddenly appeared on Luo Xiaoman's exposed skin, from which numerous worms emerged. They varied in size and length, all desperately wriggling outward. As someone with trypophobia, I was almost scared to the point of fainting. I wanted to run, but my legs had turned as weak as noodles. After struggling to crawl and hide behind a building, I tried to call the police again, only to find my teeth chattering so much that I couldn't even speak. I have no recollection of anything that happened after that. I woke up already in a hospital bed. The doctor said I had low blood sugar after exercising, which caused me to faint. The police came to take my statement, asking about what I had seen and heard that night, as well as my relationship with Luo Xiaoman and Li Qin. I answered truthfully one by one, and the officer taking the statement couldn't help but show a wry smile. That's when I found out that Li Qin's chest had been pierced by a sharp knife, and if it had been just a little off, it would have cost her her life. Fortunately, she was lucky and only suffered serious injuries, managing to keep her life. However, no perpetrator was found at the scene, although the incident occurred in a very remote area, which was a blind spot for surveillance. The cameras at several nearby intersections were all functioning properly. They have thoroughly examined all surveillance footage and found no suspicious individuals passing through. The scene was searched that very night, and no trace of Luo Xiaoman was found. However, fingerprints belonging to Luo Xiaoman were indeed detected on the handle of the murder weapon. It's just that this person seems to have vanished into thin air. Next, they will expand the search area and, if necessary, will ask for my assistance in the investigation again. After being discharged from the hospital, I contacted Huang Tao and told him everything I had seen and heard that day. After a moment of contemplation, he said that Luo Xiaoman must have severely injured Li Qin, causing the adult worms inside Li Qin to sense that their host was in danger, thus forcing them out, and when Luo Xiaoman was being devoured by the corpse worms and was on the brink of death, the worms inside her also erupted. The dose she took was several times that of Li Ting, and corpse worms, they survive by devouring human flesh and blood. Luo Xiaoman's fate can be easily imagined. I felt a chill run down my spine and quickly changed the subject, asking him if he had found the shop and the proprietress. He shook his head regretfully. Still a step too late, but I know she won't just stop there. Where there's desire, there she is. Sooner or later, I'll catch her. Later, I heard some rumors about Li Qin intermittently. Her appearance was completely ruined. Her face was bandaged because she couldn't bear the pain and itchiness of the pustules, so she dug out all the pustules on her face. A series of mental blows, coupled with severe physical trauma, caused her to babble incoherently all day long. At one moment, she would claim there were worms in the pustules on her face, and the next, she would say there were worms crawling under her skin. She even kept repeating the nonsense that corpse worms could beautify and nourish the skin, but that they would drive people mad if they ate them. His parents had no choice but to take her back to the countryside. While searching for Luo Xiaoman, the police followed the clues and uncovered the illegal activities carried out by Song Yonghao. They found numerous indecent videos used for extortion during a search of his home. Song Yonghao and the related individuals were all arrested in accordance with the law. Bidar Group could not withstand such negative impact and soon went completely bankrupt. I applied to the teacher and moved to a different dormitory. Meanwhile, Huang Tao was still on the trail of the mysterious landlady. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. Have you ever heard of the Xiaodi pill? In many rural areas, girls are given names like Xiaodi, Pundi, Nyendi. In our village, many baby girls were turned into Xiaodi pills. Xiaodi pills are a miraculous medicine. Taking one ensures the next child will be a boy. I was supposed to be made into a Xiaodi pill too, but I survived. Only my grandmother in our village knows how to make Xiaodi pills. My grandmother said it was an old immortal who taught her this method in a dream. Xiaodi pills, as the name suggests, are pills that can bring a male child when taken. Only female children can be used to make Xiaodi pills. Male children cannot be used for this purpose, nor would any family ever consider making Xiaodi pills from a male child. After all, the Xiaodi pill is used to exchange a girl for a boy. One girl can only be used to make one Xiaodi pill. Making one Xiaodi pill can earn a lot of money, and some wealthy people have come to my grandmother to make Xiaodi pills. My second sister was the first one my grandmother used to make a Xiaodi pill. My second sister successfully attracted my eldest brother. Seeing the success, my grandmother turned my eldest sister into a Xiaodi pill. Then she sold the Xiaodi pill made from my eldest sister to a wealthy person eating. The Xiaodi pill can provide the body with nutrition and great nourishment. With that money, my family became the first in the village to live in a two-story house. However, the good times didn't last long. One day, my father got drunk and accidentally fell into the river and drowned. Upon hearing the tragic news, my mother went into sudden, difficult labor and gave birth to me. After giving birth to me, my mother passed away. I had just finished my mother's funeral when my grandmother wanted to turn me into a Xiaodi pill. It was winter, but a heavy rainstorm suddenly started. Seeing this unusual weather phenomenon, my grandmother let me go and didn't sell me as a Xiaodi pill. I managed to survive. I was nursed by our neighbor, Aunt Wei. I was a beauty from a young age, and grew up to be even more stunning. The men in the village would drool at the sight of me. They would constantly make lewd remarks to me. Look at that slender waist. If I could spend a night with her, I'd be as happy as a god. My grandmother had never liked me since I was a child, but seeing me grow more and more beautiful, she came up with a brilliant idea. She spread the word in the village. When my daughter Xiangxiu turns 18, I'll sell her off. Whoever in our village offers the highest bride price, I'll sell her to them. Ever since my grandmother made that announcement, the men in the entire village have been in an uproar. My eldest brother threw his just taken off dirty clothes at me and said, "Grandma has no idea how to make more money. If you ask me, we should lock you in the room and charge people to see you over and over again. That's how we'd make a lot of money. I have to do all the work at home and in the fields. I usually cook for my grandma and my older brother, wash their clothes, and feed the chickens, ducks, and geese. I also have to work in the fields, while my older brother doesn't have to do any work at all. He idles around the village all day long." My eldest brother said to me, "If you can live, you must make the most of it and show filial piety to Grandma." Today, Grandma went to old Lee's house to make the Joudy pills. I'm going to watch the excitement. After feeding the chickens, ducks, and geese in the yard, I also went to old Lee's house to see what was happening. By the time I arrived, many villagers were already at old Lee's house. My grandmother, with her gray hair and an apron tied around her waist, was talking to old Lee. Old Lee's granddaughter is 4 years old this year, holding her mother's hand. With a look of innocence on her face, Lee Danu's wife has already given birth to 2 daughters, and old Lee wants a grandson. Lee Danu and his wife also want a son, but they are afraid that the next child will still be a girl. My grandmother has been making Joudy pills for many years and has built a good reputation in the village. Any woman who takes the Joudy pills she makes is guaranteed to have a baby boy in the next pregnancy. The little girl in the Lee family has already lived for 4 years. Old man Lee, along with his son and daughter-in-law, also felt they had done right by this little girl. The entire family gathered around my grandmother, each face showing a resolute determination. "It's about time, let's begin." As soon as my grandmother finished speaking, Lee Danui knocked his daughter unconscious with a stick. Lee Danui's wife pried open the girl's mouth, and my grandmother poured a bowl of medicinal water into it. This bowl of medicinal water was somewhat miraculous, as if with a mind of its own. It automatically flowed into the girl's belly. Not a single drop spilled. The girl lay on the ground, blood streaming from her forehead, completely unconscious. My grandmother instructed Lee Danu to place the girl into the large pot that had already been prepared in the yard. My grandmother directed Lee Danu's wife to pour a small bucket of lard over the girl's body, then, let Lee Danu start burning the firewood. My grandmother began to walk around the large pot, muttering words that outsiders couldn't understand. The girl's body began to slowly change. Her corpse melted into the lard bit by bit, as if splashed with sulfuric acid. In less than half an hour, the girl's body had completely dissolved, leaving not even a single bone fragment. The villagers, having witnessed my grandmother making the Joudy pills many times over the years, didn't seem frightened. Their faces revealed a sense of excitement. Seeing this scene, I remained calm and unperturbed. My grandmother poured another bowl of medicinal liquid into the large pot. Then, she took a large ladle and stirred the lard and medicinal liquid together in the pot. All the liquid in the large pot began to slowly concentrate. After another half hour, a perfectly round, glossy black pill appeared in the pot. Done. My grandmother picked up the pill from the pot and handed it to Old Man Lee. Old Man Lee carefully held the Joudy pill in his hands, as if cradling a rare treasure. The Joudy pill was entirely black, resembling a black sesame ball. It exudes a sweet fragrance that makes one's mouth water just by smelling it. I clearly saw my eldest brother's Adam's apple bob twice. He was also drooling. Lee Danu happily paid my grandmother the money. My grandmother reminded him, "Keep it safe, and give it to your wife to eat a day later." After finishing the Joudy pills, the villagers, seeing that everything was done, began to leave old Lee's house one by one. I turned around to leave as well. Snow began to fall from the sky. I heard the villagers say, "Now the Lee family is going to have a baby boy. We can't make fun of old Lee anymore." My grandmother walked over to me, gave me a shove, and said viciously, "What are you doing here? Go home and cook." My elder brother walked over, teased me a couple of times, then smiled and reached out his hand toward my grandmother. My grandmother, with a loving expression, pulled out 5 bills from a stack of cash and generously gave them to my elder brother. My elder brother's so-called friends immediately gathered around, and a few of them escorted him off to drink. My grandmother then glared around at the men in the village who were staring at me with infatuation, giving them a warning look to stay away from me. After all, my grandmother is counting on selling me for a good price. She won't allow any man to touch me before I'm sold. Lee Danu's wife was still happily seeing off the villagers. She said, "I really regret with Daniel that we didn't turn Er and I into a Joudy pill earlier, letting her eat for 4 years in vain. But at least this way, we can say we've treated her fairly." The joy on Lee Danu's wife's face was clearly visible. On the way home, my grandmother urgently went to the village's public restroom to use the toilet. Son the cripple suddenly appeared in front of me. He looked at me with a lecherous smile and said, you're so fresh and tender, you'll be of age soon. And I must buy you to see how you taste." Son the cripple was a bachelor in our village, a few years older than my father, and had never married in his life. It wasn't just because of his physical disability. Son the cripple had a violent temper and a fondness for drinking. Whenever he got drunk, he would start hitting people. He even hit his own parents. No family in our village was willing to marry their daughter to him. The villagers from the neighboring villages were all aware of his foul temper. "Look at your wretched self, get out of here and go back where you came from. Stay away from my granddaughter. If you want my granddaughter, get ready to pay for her." My grandmother came out of the public restroom, saw cripple's son harassing me, and scolded him until he ran away. My grandma punched me in the back and told me to run home right now to cook for her. Since I was little, she has always hit me, and I've gotten used to it. Actually, my grandmother has made a lot of money over the years by selling Jouti pills, but she feels it's still not enough. She wants to earn more money, then move to the city with my eldest brother and find him a city wife. Every night, I wash my body with the ointment my grandmother prepared for me. Whenever this ointment is applied to the body, the skin burns with a fiery pain. This ointment is made from lard and my grandmother's secret recipe. It will make my skin whiter and more tender, and my body will emit a sweet fragrance, just like the Jouti pills. I dare not refuse to use it. My grandmother hits really hard. She also scolds me for being a money loser, saying the herbs used to make this ointment are very expensive. Because of this, I became the woman with the most radiant skin in the village. Even though I often work in the fields, I don't get tanned, and my skin doesn't become rough. My eldest brother originally wanted my grandmother to rely on selling this ointment as a second way to make money, but my grandmother didn't want to let other women use it. If other women used it, I might not be able to sell it for a good price. Then all these years she spent raising me would have been in vain, and she would suffer a loss. I finished my bath and slipped into bed, counting the days. I have 3 months left until I come of age. The day I turn 18 is the day before the Lunar New Year. This year, the village is sure to be lively during the New Year celebrations, because I could already sense that they couldn't wait any longer. I turned on the light and retrieved a small box I had hidden away. Inside the small box lay a lock of silver white hair. This lock of hair belonged to my grandmother. It's still the lock of hair I carefully selected and kept from the last time I cut her hair. I picked up this lock of hair, put it in my mouth, chewed it, and swallowed it. Many girls' voices echoed in my mind, and I could hear them speaking. I learned this method from my grandmother's ancient book. She deceived the villagers, claiming that an old immortal had guided her in her dreams to make the Jouti pills. I don't believe such nonsense at all. There are more and more boys in our village, and fewer girls, because the preference for sons over daughters is very strong in our village. Even if they have to pay a lot of money, they still ask my grandmother to make the Jouti pills. In some villages, even families that don't lack sons will ask my grandmother to turn their daughters into Jouti pills to sell for money. My grandmother also holds a very high status in our village, because she is the only one within 100 miles who knows how to make the Jouti pills. Many households in the village have become wealthy by turning their own daughters into Jouti pills and selling them to the rich. My grandmother hid that ancient book at the very bottom of her quilt cabinet. Now it is in my hands. I flipped through it page by page. This ancient book records many evil methods. It can be considered a wicked book. As I flipped through this ancient book, the voices of those girls in my mind grew louder and more chaotic. They want revenge. I calmed them with my thoughts, urging them to quiet down. If it weren't for the celestial anomaly, I would have died back then. I have never met my father or my mother, nor do I know what kind of people they were, but judging from the fact that my grandmother turned my eldest and second sisters into Jouti pills, and they did nothing to stop it, they must be people of the same temperament as my grandmother and my eldest brother. They are the real family, not me. I quietly placed this ancient book back in its original spot. The owner of this ancient book is my grandmother, but it can also become a tool for my revenge. I haven't seen my eldest sister and second sister yet, but now I can communicate with both of them through telepathy. We should be able to meet soon. It wasn't until noon the next day that my eldest brother returned. You've been drinking so much again, Xiangxiu. Quickly make a bowl of sobering soup for your brother. My grandmother looked as if she was deeply concerned for her precious grandson. I silently went to the kitchen to prepare the sobering soup. After it was ready, I handed the sobering soup to my eldest brother. My big brother downed the hangover soup in one go. My grandma then told me to go wash the dishes. My big brother came back today looking very happy. He said to my grandma with a smile, "Grandma, I've made up my mind. I want to learn how to make Jouti pills from you." My grandmother was taken aback and quickly tried to dissuade my eldest brother. "Dear grandson, why do you want to learn this? You can't make Jouti pills in the city. you can only do this in the village. My eldest brother shook his head indifferently. Grandma, working in the city is really tough. It's better to make money doing this. My grandmother didn't want my eldest brother to stay in the village for the rest of his life, so she continued to persuade him, good grandson, once we sell your sister, we'll move to the city, and you won't have to work to earn money. But my eldest brother's attitude was very firm, and he said to my grandmother, there's nothing good in the city anyway. I don't want to go. Grandma, you don't understand. All my friends are so envious of me because you'll only pass this skill down to me. I chimed in from the side, Grandma, don't worry, maybe after my older brother makes a few Xiaodi pills, he'll lose interest and still go to the city with you. My eldest brother rarely gave me a good look, he said to my grandmother. Xiangxiu makes a good point, Grandma, please teach me how to make the Xiaodi pills. My grandmother puffed on her pipe with a troubled expression, but in the end, he reluctantly agreed to my eldest brother. Seeing that my grandmother had agreed, my eldest brother happily went back to his room to sleep. The corners of my mouth involuntarily curved upward. My eldest brother's so-called friends are truly his good buddies. They just didn't know that they had already pushed my eldest brother to a dead end. My grandmother said in a discouraged tone, your eldest brother's sudden whim came at the wrong time. You're about to come of age, and I was planning to sell you and then quickly move to the city with your eldest brother. Now this mess has suddenly come up, but I felt that this mess came at just the right time. My eldest brother will become even more skilled at making Xiaodi pills than my grandmother. He won't just do it on a whim. His interest will only grow stronger over time. At that moment, Li Danu's wife suddenly came running to our house. Li Danu's wife was panting heavily, covered in sweat, and urgently called for my grandmother to go to her house right away. I followed behind them and went as well. Many villagers had gathered around Li Danu's house. It turned out that old Li had died. Old Li's death was a tragic sight, with a lot of soil stuffed in his mouth. It looks like he choked to death on dirt. Who in the world killed my father? My father was fine last night. How could this happen so suddenly? Who exactly killed my father? Come out here, Li Danu cried and shouted, as if he had lost his mind. My grandmother asked him, when was the body discovered? Li Danu said, my dad drank too much last night. This morning, my wife called him out to eat, but he didn't respond. We just thought he was still sleeping off the alcohol, so we didn't bother him. It wasn't until noon when my dad still hadn't come out that we realized something was wrong. My grandmother frowned and said, this is bad. That girl has come back for revenge. After my grandmother finished speaking, Li Danu and his wife were so frightened that they seemed nailed to the spot. My grandmother picked up a piece of soil from old Li's mouth and held it up to her nose to smell. Then she said with certainty, no mistake, it's really her. Hearing my grandmother's words, many villagers began to feel afraid. My grandmother then asked Li Danu, has your wife already taken that Xiaodi pill? Li Danu's wife hurriedly shook her head and said, not yet. I was planning to take it after lunch today, but I never expected my father-in-law to suddenly have this happen. My grandmother nodded and said to them, let me see that Xiaodi pill. Li Danu's wife's expression was not good as she looked at Li Danu. Li Danu shouted at her, hurry up and go. After a short while, Li Danu's wife brought out the Xiaodi pill. The Xiaodi pill was placed in a bowl, clearly having been bitten off by 1/3. Li Danu's wife complained to my grandmother. My father-in-law insisted on trying it, saying a little wouldn't hurt. My grandmother, with a grim face, pointed at Li Danu and his wife and said, this is the cause of your father's death. That girl has come back for revenge. Li Danu was so frightened that he knelt on the ground, clutching my grandmother's leg, and said, Aunt Zhang, will near continue to come and harm me and her mother? You must save us. My grandmother rolled a cigarette, puffed on it, and then nodded. My grandmother said, I've been making Xiaodi pills for so many years, but this is the first time I've encountered something like this. Don't be afraid. This girl is now filled with resentment, so I'll destroy her. Otherwise, after harming you too, she'll go on to harm others. Li Danu and his wife quickly thanked my grandmother. My grandmother had Li Danu's wife eat the Xiaodi pill right away and then brewed her a bowl of medicinal water. After Li Danu's wife drank the potion, all of us heard two piercing cries of a baby girl, which were extremely eerie. The sound came from Li Danu's wife's belly. The villagers were all stunned and, at the same time, held even greater admiration for my grandmother. They just didn't know that the sound was actually made by me. 7 days later, Li Danu's wife became pregnant. The atmosphere in Li Danu's household quickly shifted from mourning to celebration. My eldest brother also started learning from my grandmother how to make Xiaodi pills. He studied very seriously, and I began to look at him with new respect. My eldest brother is usually carefree, but he was exceptionally serious when learning to make shouty pills. My grandmother dotes on my eldest brother and taught him meticulously. I can also make shouty pills because I have read that ancient book. In less than a week, my eldest brother mastered the entire process of making shouty pills. My eldest brother seems like a completely different person now, no longer the carefree and irresponsible guy he used to be. When his old drinking buddies came to invite him out for drinks, he turned them down. Gradually, he cut off all contact with those so-called friends. He also stopped mocking me like he used to. He doesn't say a word to me all day, and his whole demeanor has become gloomy. My grandmother was actually pleased to see the change in my eldest brother. She thought he had become more composed. My eldest brother is now only interested in making shouty pills, and he has even come up with some whimsical ideas. He asked my grandmother, "Can only baby girls be used to make shouty pills? Can adult women be made into shouty pills? Can elderly women be made into shouty pills?" My grandmother patiently answered him, "Actually, any female can be made into shouty pills, but the younger the age, the better the effect." My eldest brother has had an epiphany. Women take shouty pills in order to give birth to baby boys. Men take shouty pills to nourish their bodies. Taking shouty pills made from girls under 10 years old results in giving birth to very healthy baby boys, and eating shouty pills made from adult women will cause the baby boy to be born with certain congenital diseases, and eating shouty pills made from elderly women will cause the baby boy to be born with disabilities. That ancient book also records it this way. So women who want to have a baby boy basically will not eat shouty pills made from females over 10 years old. My eldest brother can now make shouty pills on his own, whenever there's work to be done. He's the one who goes out. My grandmother has become more relaxed. She praised my eldest brother to me, saying, "Look at how much your big brother has changed. Not only has he become well behaved, but he can also earn money for me now. Now look at you, a money-losing burden. You can only be sold for money once." My big brother has become completely obsessed with making shouty pills. When there's no work in our village, he goes out early in the morning to find work in other villages. Soon, villagers from all around the 10-mile radius knew that my eldest brother had inherited my grandmother's craft. The number of baby girls in the nearby villages began to slowly decrease. Pregnant women gradually became more common. They all became pregnant after taking the shouty pills. Some families didn't want a son, but rather to make money. They came to my eldest brother to have their daughters turned into shouty pills. Thanks to my eldest brother's constant promotion, our village and several nearby villages underwent earth-shaking changes in a short period of time. There were hardly any girls left in the village. The villagers were all eager to turn their daughters into shouty pills, to sell for money. Since Lidania's wife became pregnant, she has been receiving meticulous care from him, and she has been gaining more and more weight. I heard that 2 girls tried to sneak out of the village but were caught by their parents and beaten half to death. My older brother is obsessed with making shouty pills, to the point of being completely infatuated with it. He even suggested that as long as a woman is willing to be made into shouty pills, regardless of age, he would pay for it. There are indeed people in the village willing to let their women be made into shouty pills by my eldest brother for money. In families that already have a son, the husband would persuade his wife to sacrifice herself to be made into a shouty pill, because my eldest brother would pay, thereby providing a better life for the child, and the money my eldest brother gave was equivalent to what they had paid my grandmother for making the shouty pills. Back then, the villagers are getting excited again. This is like earning back the money that was spent before, and they got a son for free. As for my eldest brother, he does it purely for the joy of making shouty pills. For a time, our village became a living hell. The villagers no longer had the heart to farm the land. They would persuade their own wives to sacrifice themselves for the happiness of their sons. There were also those who persuaded their own elderly mothers. My grandmother couldn't persuade my brother, so she could only vent her frustrations to me. What a sin! I shouldn't have agreed to teach him this craft back then. All the money he earned before was in vain. He's spent it all now. Oh my goodness! My eldest brother completely ignored my grandmother's objections, eagerly and obsessively making shouty pills every day. Those villagers always come straight to my eldest brother when they visit our home. My grandmother is now being ignored by everyone, fearing that my grandmother might pass on her craft to someone else in the future. My eldest brother, in a fit of madness, poisoned her and left her mute. My grandmother is now terrified of my eldest brother. She trembles all over whenever she sees him. There are fewer and fewer women in the village. Apart from pregnant women, there are basically no other women left. Even the elderly women are few and far between. Seeing that there were fewer and fewer women who could be made into shouty pills, My eldest brother actually came up with the idea of digging up graves on the back mountain. The village chief and the villagers didn't dare to interfere with my eldest brother, so they just let him dig up graves. More and more voices appeared in my mind, all thanks to my eldest brother. The Xiaodi pills, made from adult women and elderly ladies, were all consumed by my eldest brother, because the nutritional value of the Xiaodi pills is extremely high. Men won't get pregnant from eating it, they'll only get nutritional supplements. The scent of Xiaodi pills wafts through every corner of my family's courtyard. My head feels like it's about to burst from all the noise. There are just too many people. My grandmother's hair started falling out in clumps, and soon she was completely bald. I burned my grandmother's fallen hair into ashes and drank it mixed with water. The voices in my head gradually quieted down, their resentment lessened a bit. My eldest and second sisters also calmed down. My second sister harbors a great deal of resentment and still wants to play tricks on my eldest brother. I can only advise her to be a bit more patient and not rush things. After all, the day of revenge will come soon enough. They were all persuaded by me. I walked into the courtyard. My eldest brother was turning an old woman into a Xiaodi pill. His face was filled with excitement and exhilaration. His apron was covered in bloodstains and hadn't been washed for a long time. Since he changed into a different person, he has never asked me to wash his clothes again. I pass by him, and he doesn't even glance at me. He has been wearing the same clothes for many days, and I haven't seen him change them. My eldest brother reeks of a foul odor, and I don't want to get close to him. The villagers were probably tired of watching, and no one came to my house to see the excitement of my eldest brother making the Xiaodi pills. Grandma, I'm now the only person in the world besides you who knows how to make the Xiaodi pills, right, Grandma? Earning so much money is useless. People live to be happy. During the meal, my eldest brother spoke up, which was a rare occurrence. My grandmother was so frightened that she huddled close to me. Her entire body was trembling. My eldest brother even said, "What's so exciting about the city? Life in the village is much better." I smiled and agreed with him. Yes, if you had listened to Grandma back then and gone to the city with her, you wouldn't have been able to make Xiaodi pills. But my eldest brother sighed and said, "There are fewer and fewer women in the village, and I need raw materials." I glanced at my grandmother without showing any expression. My eldest brother's eyes immediately lit up, and he looked at my grandmother with a gleam in his eyes. My grandmother was so frightened that she immediately dropped her rice bowl and hid behind me. My eldest brother laughed in a chilling manner. He put down his bowl and chopsticks and went back to his own room. I said to my grandmother, "Grandma, you can't stay at home now, let me hide you." My grandmother couldn't make a sound, but she quickly nodded at me repeatedly. I took her to the back hill and hid her in a cave, and I told her that I would bring her food every day. After all, she is in great danger now. She is the only old lady left in the village. Whenever I get close to my grandmother, the voices in my head become unbearably loud. When my eldest brother noticed that my grandmother was missing, he didn't ask me about it, nor did he go looking for her. I took the ancient book out from my grandmother's wardrobe. Following the instructions in it, I prepared a bowl of medicinal brew. I poured the potion onto this ancient book, and the book began to slowly melt. In the end, it actually turned into a yellow pill. This yellow pill feels very elastic when squeezed and doesn't break when dropped on the ground. The little girls in my mind have entered into this yellow pill. They finally stopped bothering me. Today, I came of age. Even though my grandmother isn't here, I still have to be sold on this day, because today is the day my grandmother agreed upon with those villagers. Early in the morning, I took a hot shower, put on a new dress, and made myself look very pretty. There were no raw materials today, so my eldest brother stayed in his room and didn't come out. While inside the house, I could hear the voices of the villagers in the courtyard. "We haven't seen old lady Zhang for several days. I wonder what she's been up to. Could it be that she's changed her mind about selling her granddaughter? We have to sell. It was agreed upon years ago. Today her granddaughter comes of age, and I've been waiting for this day for a long time, right? If she goes back on her word, we'll just snatch her granddaughter together. I can't wait any longer." Hee. I walked out, and the men in the yard immediately fell silent. Seeing me dressed so beautifully, they all stared at me in a daze. Some people were drooling. "Truly beautiful. Her skin is so tender it seems to drip with moisture. I can't even imagine what a heavenly life it would be to hold such a beautiful woman every night. I can't wait any longer. Let's start bidding to see who offers the most money." They were so anxious that they overlooked my grandmother, and no one asked why she wasn't there. I watched them calmly. Without saying a word, the men shouted prices, each one higher than the last. I didn't know what had happened to my grandmother. Since hiding her in the back mountain, I haven't brought her a single meal. She's so capable, even the wild beasts in the back mountain must fear she'll turn them into shouty pills, so I'm not worried about her. But today, I'll go to the back mountain to check on her." The men kept shouting out prices, each one arguing until their faces were flushed red. My eldest brother still hadn't come out, and I had no idea what he was doing inside the house. The men had been bidding for a long time, but still hadn't reached a conclusion. Among the group of men were a few old men, who were panting heavily as they shouted out their bids. "Lee Danu has come too, which really surprises me. He said his wife told him to buy me to be their nanny, taking care of their soon-to-be-born precious son." I understand what his wife means. Lee Danu's wife, like other women in the village, used to always like to belittle me with all sorts of unpleasant words. They used to always say about me, "This girl looks like a demon, she might just be a demon reincarnated, her grandmother did too many evil deeds, this girl won't come to a good end." Just thinking about how this girl will be auctioned off to the men in the village when she grows up makes me laugh. She'll get what's coming to her. But many of the women who used to curse me back then are no longer around. I'm still alive and well, but they've been turned into shouty pills. I never expected that the highest bidder in the end would be Cripple's son. He limped over to me, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth, and grinned as he said to me, "From now on, you're my person." He pulled out a red plastic bag from a seemingly tattered bag he was carrying, which contained a lot of money, and gave it all to me. His face wore an expression of smug satisfaction. Suddenly, my older brother ran out from inside the house. "So itchy, my face, it hurts so much, someone help me." My eldest brother was lying on the ground, screaming and shouting. I stared at my eldest brother in shock, completely taken aback by him. Some of the other men, upon seeing my eldest brother's condition, couldn't help but start vomiting. I saw my eldest brother's exposed skin covered with large pustules. These pustules were packed closely together, looking exactly like the ones on Zhao Wan. My eldest brother seemed extremely itchy, constantly scratching himself. He even scratched himself until he bled. I looked closely and saw that even his eyelids had grown pus-filled sores like those of Zhao. I smiled and took out a small box. Inside the small box was a yellow pill. I tossed this yellow pill into the air. In an instant, the yellow pill exploded into powder in mid-air. No, that wasn't powder. It was a swarm of tiny flying insects. These insects flew onto the men. Immediately, small pustules identical to those on my eldest brother began to sprout all over their bodies. They all fell to the ground and began to wail in agony. A strong wind began to blow, and heavy rain poured down. I left my family's courtyard and walked through the village. From other houses, the sounds of pregnant women giving birth began to emerge. They were just screaming in agony and fear. A smile spread across my face. They were being reborn. I walked into Lee Dania's house. Lee Dania's wife was lying on the kong, struggling in pain as she gave birth. I stood silently to the side and said to her, "Push a little harder. The baby is almost out." Lee Danu's wife glared at me fiercely, but she didn't have the extra energy to curse at me. She gave birth to a child, a baby girl, who looked exactly like her daughter, Ernir, did when she was little. "Isn't this just Ernir?" After the child was born, Lee Danu's wife died. I looked coldly at her body and said, "You are not worthy of being a mother." As soon as Ernir was born, she could walk on the ground. I took her to other people's homes to watch other pregnant women give birth. They were all like Lee Danu's wife, giving birth to their daughters who had been turned into shouty pills. Even 2 daughters were once made into shouty pills, and they gave birth to 2 daughters in one go. It seemed as if everyone in the village had died out. I went to the back mountain to look for my grandmother. This cave is very well hidden, and ordinary people would not easily discover it. My grandmother lay on the ground, her entire body covered in silvery white hair, just like the hair on her head. Standing beside her body were 2 young girls. They were my eldest sister and my second sister. "She's dead, she's dead, he. The old woman is finally dead." My eldest and second eldest sisters were so happy they danced with joy. My grandmother ended up like this, and it was a fitting death for her. Her skin surface was covered with hair, like a human grass patch. Even her eyes, ears, and nostrils were filled with hair. Her mouth was stuffed with hair, as if she had choked to death on it. Even between her fingers and toes, hair had grown thickly. I can imagine that she must have suffered greatly when she died. I brought my eldest and second sisters back to my home. There are many men's corpses lying in my family's courtyard. Lee Daniu and son Casey are also dead. The pus-filled sores on the men's bodies are oozing pus and emitting a foul stench. My eldest brother is not dead yet. He still has a breath of life. The 3 of us sisters laughed together as we looked at him. In the end, my eldest brother was scared to death by us all. The men and women in the village died, except for me and these newborn baby girls. From now on, no one will ever hurt them again, my eldest sister, my second sister, and I will protect them and ensure they grow up safe and healthy. The village is so quiet now, only the joyful laughter of the baby girls can be heard. I held my two sisters' hands, and from then on, I could also live a happy life. Both my grandmother and my eldest brother had died, no one would ever hurt them again. I carried a bowl of medicinal water, dripping a drop onto each corpse in the village, just one drop of the potion, and these corpses will completely dissolve and vanish. It's as if these people never existed. However, the existence of these baby girls proves that the dark events of the past did indeed happen. It's just that no one in this world will ever make Xiaodi pills to harm others again. The baby girls will grow up happily, with the three of us sisters protecting them. Half a year later, many outsiders came to our village. They were all brought here by me, and I am now the village chief. They adopted these baby girls. The baby girls now all have parents. The crops in the fields are being tended to. The entire village has regained its vitality. I opened a small shop and go to the city once a week to restock. No one knows the relationship between my two older sisters and me, because they both look much younger than me. Outsiders think I am their older sister. The past events of the old village seem to have been buried. Those baby girls have no memory of anything since they were born. The village now is completely different from before. We live very happily. None of the girls in our village have the character, bro, in their names. Their current parents do not favor sons over daughters. Instead, they have given them a lot of love. The atmosphere in the village is now peaceful and harmonious. I have almost forgotten the dark times of the past. Big sister, second sister, come and eat. Old Man Lee's side story. It's been 4 years, and the more I look at Ernie, the angrier I get. I don't care for granddaughters, I only want a grandson, but my daughter-in-law has already given birth to 2 girls. Today I lost my temper and scolded Lee Daeniu. I was criticizing indirectly, but his wife could still understand what I meant. Dainiu's mother died early. I was the one who raised Daeniu from childhood to adulthood. I told him that if he still acknowledges me as his father, he should call old Granny Zhang to turn Ernie into a Xiaodi pill, keeping Ernie alive for 4 years. Our old Lee family has done right by her. I just want a grandson. We must turn her into a Xiaodi pill. Daeniu loves his wife, but I know he wants a son too. That night, Daeniu and his wife had a big argument in their room. Ernie was so scared that she burst into tears, but she was still young and didn't understand what Xiaodi Wan was. Early the next morning, Daeniu told me that his wife had agreed. I went to old lady Zhang's house to discuss this matter with her and also saw her beautiful granddaughter. Her granddaughter is truly beautiful. She is the prettiest little girl in our village. A long time ago, old lady Zhang had already made it known that once this girl came of age, she would sell her. I really want to buy her. If I could spend a night with her, I'd be willing to die the next day. When the time comes, I'll try talking to Daeniu. I'm willing to spend my life savings to buy old Zhang's granddaughter. If Daeniu doesn't agree, I'll make a scene with him. He will definitely agree. What makes me angry is that Cripple's son also wants to buy that little girl. Cripple's son and I often drink together. I've heard him mention it several times. He was just talking to me the other day. Oldly, when I marry that girl, I want you to be the officiant at my wedding. He considered me a brother, but I never did. Ernie was made into a fertility pill. At least she's made a bit of a contribution to our Oldley family. To be honest, as her grandfather, I do feel a little affection for her, but when compared to my precious grandson, she doesn't really matter. Xiaodawan smells so good, even more delicious than my favorite braised pork knuckle. Old Granny Zhang warned that this Xiaodi pill is only for women trying to conceive, but it shouldn't harm a man to eat it, right? This Xiaodi pill is made for my granddaughter. As her grandfather, having a little taste shouldn't be a problem. I took a small bite when no one was around. It's so delicious, I couldn't resist and took another small taste. That's enough for me. The main thing is to let the wife of the big ox eat. She's the one who's going to give our Lee family a son. But later, Daeniu and his wife found out that I had been sneaking food. Neither of them dared to say anything. After all, I am the head of this household. At night, I lay contentedly on the Kong and fell asleep. Why do I suddenly feel like there's someone beside me? I groggily opened my eyes and saw Ernie sitting by my pillow. She held a bowl filled with soil in her hand, scooping it spoonful by spoonful into my mouth. She grinned menacingly as she shoveled soil into my mouth, spoonful by spoonful. Grandpa, eat, Grandpa, eat. It's so delicious. I was terrified and wanted to run, but my body was completely paralyzed. Stop feeding me. Stop feeding me. I can't eat anymore. Ernie was fiercely feeding me dirt, as if she didn't remember I was her grandfather. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments. section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.